up is Robin from Staffbase. He is one of our senior solutions engineers, and we've talked a lot about intranets, and he's going to take you through a quick demo of the Staffbase Intranet.
All right. Thank you, Emilia. I'm Robin, part of the North American Solutions Engineering team. And for today, for my part, this was the only slide. So we'll directly jump into the platform, and I will show you how an example environment, how an example intranet can look like. So you should see my screen right now, and the screen or the environment you're seeing here is an example environment. So we branded it like Apple. We're currently sitting on 100% success rate, pushing those native apps into the App Store, which makes our intranet, of course, fully accessible mobile. But of course, this could be your branding. You can 100% brand this by yourself, and of course, also target the content to your own demographic target groups. So I want to start with the employee-facing side, which you can already see here. And then we will switch to the editorial side. So basically, I will show you how a day in the life of a communicator can look like with our editorial tools. And then I will connect the dots and show you some analytics you can get out of that. So first of all, the intranet here allows us to basically see what communication do we want to give what real estate. So we have a big banner with headlines here at the top. When we scroll down, there are more stories basically which we can then place here in from different channels with different topics behind that. And the whole platform is targeted. So it knows who I am, it knows where I am basically on the Active Directory data, and can then, for example, show me, local relevant information for my location, for my office, for my site, or also for my local department that I'm working for. Another point is, of course, when we are using an intranet, we have to find all of our productive tools fairly easily. One of those could be that we have a launchpad that is always on top. So I'm just scrolling around and I always see my launchpad that's not only targeted, so I can just see the tools that I'm able to use, that I'm also have a license for. We can also implement in single sign-on, so I'm quickly jump into those tools and basically access those. But this also learns from my behavior. So I'm opening Jira on a daily basis. And so the Jira application will always be on top right here and makes it easily findable for me in my individual role to access all of my productive tools. Another way of taking your employees on a journey is our Journeys feature that allows you to have targeted onboarding diaries, targeted pre-boarding diaries, or if you think of an employee switching the role, for example, into a managerial role, to give an automatic weekly update on specific content that's important for the new role. So this is an automation system based on a trigger that automatically sends you this content based on your role in the company. Also could be based on your locations, basically on all attributes that we can get from your Active Directory HR system or wherever. So another point is, of course, how do we find what's relevant for me, right? And I think the first thing where we all think about is, of course, the search. So let's say I'm searching for my absence regulations, maybe my absence days. So I'm just like opening up the search right here and search for absence, and it will give me all the results on the platform. It will also give me the results on connected platforms that I'm connected with. So, for example, there is something in Confluence and ServiceNow in Microsoft or another platform or database. I can also find this through this connected centralized search. Another way of doing it is connecting an AI or using an AI in form of chatbot. So when we are opening the chatbot right here, the chatbot is basically able to help us with basic questions. So we can ask it with prompts, how many absence days do I have left? And when we asked the chatbot or the AI this, and this is an example of an integrated co-pilot AI, and this co-pilot AI is not only connected to Staffbase, that's why it knows where I can find all of my information on Staffbase, but it's also connected to Workday and to the Active Directory. So it can bring this data into context and present it to me just as a human interface that I can ask about these information. So getting to the area the chatbot suggested gives us an overview of the more work-related task and also HR-related information. So I can see absences, I can see pay slips, and I can also see, for example, tasks. And these tasks can also come from external systems. So you may have task management in Jira and ServiceNow, and you want to connect this to the intranet to give one combined front end, basically, for your employees, like one door to enter based on, not dependent what information you search. You just have one single source of contact, basically. And we talked a lot about collaboration, and we talked about pets. And so pets are also, of course, part of this demo. So having communities in the platform is very important to unify the workforce and to give those areas that basically give you the opportunity to subscribe to topics that are important for you, where you can then participate in, or have a combined feed that basically aggregates all of your optional interests as a user, to basically have all of this in one wall. But of course, this is not the only form of communication surfacing. So communication can come in different forms. There could also be a long form, a blog-esque form. You can enable interactions like commenting or reacting. You can also receive information back directly through, for example, embedded surveys for specific topics. And we will talk about these embedded surveys also in a second when we come to the strategic communication campaigns. Switching to the editorial side of things, and we are starting with our editorial calendar. So imagine we're starting our day as a communicator, and this is basically where we could start planning and measuring our communication. So we already sent out this article, which produced some analytics, produced some reach, unique visits, visitors, and also interaction metrics. So this is the first glimpse of our analytics section. We will get back to more analytics later on. But what this calendar is also serving us is ongoing campaigns. So for example, we can run campaigns that will get connected to news, to emails, and then produce meaningful analytics in the end, like how aligned is my workforce with this campaign? And I will show you that in practice later on in the end. But here is also an article which we plan for tomorrow. We will go into that in a second. And then there is also an email planned, and that's also what we are tackling after that. So first of all, let's go into the news article. So this news article is planned for tomorrow. It's planned to send out via push and email notification, and it's an important headline. And when I just open this in the editor, which is of course all permission-based, so I can just access what I'm allowed to access. You can see we have a title, we have a teaser. We could also regenerate those with AI. So the AI reads through the title and the article text and then presents us an example teaser. Or we are marking a section right here and ask the AI to adjust the tone, make it a bit more bold, make it a bit shorter, longer, make bullet points out of that, or create our own ideas or drafts based on prompts. So basically an embedded AI assistant for us as a writer to help us writing this content. Another important helper is, of course, this is currently just in an English version, so I can just translate this article. Let's say I want to have a German and a French version of this article. So I say, hey, please add this language, copy and translate automatically the already existing English version, and add this to the article. So this will basically make sure that you are seeing, or that employees from these countries with the respective language settings will automatically see those articles in the respective language. Then Going to the article itself, of course, we have a text editor, so we can put in all the formats of text. We can put in widgets. So, for example, animations, plugins like surveys or forms, or also interactive features, user profiles from the phone book. All of that can be added to articles to make them more interactable. Or, like here, have an example or a podcast with our onboard podcast player. That's, of course, also mobile capable, giving you consumer-grade experiences with consuming podcasts. Let's say I want to let this review by somebody. I say, hey, could you please look over the French version of this article? So I could assign this task to somebody from the team who also has access, will then get a notification. Or if the article requires an approval to get published, can also have an approval system behind that makes sure that this article can just be published when the approval is in from the respective team members. So going back to the calendar, we just talked about news. We are also interconnected here with the email tools. So, for example, we have a Friday newsletter that's planned for tomorrow. Let's go into that for a second. And in our newsletter editor, which enables us to basically build those emails, we can reuse content that's already published on the platform. So this gives us the opportunity not only to build those emails from the ground up or use templates for that, but also say, hey, I have news articles that are already published. So let's just drag and drop them into the newsletter and send them also out via email to amplify the communications on that. And of course, later on, when you measure your interactions and your analytics, you can see how many of your readers come from email, how many of your readers come from a push notification from the app, to basically measure which channel is the most successful. So we have the intranet, which, of course, is also fully mobile capable. We have news, we have emails. There are also other forms. So SMS is an example where you can quickly use your existing target group to send out SMS to your workforce. We have screens, that is basically a digital signage tool, giving you the option to create slideshows with existing news, with existing content. Then you can then play, for example, in the factory or in the cafeteria on accessible screens. Adding a QR code to the mix. So this will also drive engagement into the app. When somebody scans the QR code, then he or she will be automatically led into the article in the app and can then interact with it, comment on it, and then you can also see how is your engagement, or where does your engagement come from in this sense, and how many of your readers, for example, saw your content because of the open screens that are hanging around. So to basically connect it all, because we have seen a lot of channels right now which can be served through this one content management system. So this platform is basically made to serve internal communication in all of those channels, spread the communication out, make it reusable, and also put in the required permissions for your teams so you can manage your internal communication. But of course, in the end, you have to measure how does it work, what analytics does it produce, how is the interaction and the participation basically in the company. And for that, we have our analytics. So let me switch to a campaign. You have heard that before when we were in the editorial calendar, that we have these campaigns that are running, which you can connect to different communication pieces, sometimes over a span of multiple years, to measure how is your communication going, how aligned is your workforce. And for that, we have our campaign analytics. So let me switch to a more fully fledged campaign that's already running for quite some time. And you can see this campaign already produced visibility, engagement. We have a net sentiment score and an alignment score. And I will go through this one by one right now. So the first one is the visibility over time. So how many users over all of these communication pieces have at least view 1, 2, 3 plus of these articles? And you can display that by user group or by content. So you can see what user group is maybe missed out by a specific communication channel. Going further, we can see how is the engagement over time. So, for example, how many users of these user groups have engaged at least 1 to 3 times, which means like clicking on the like or leaving a comment. And speaking of comments, we have a sentiment analysis, which also uses an AI. And this AI is offering you offers you a sentiment score based on how positive, neutral, or negative these comments are. It's of course all anonymized, but it gives you a glimpse on how aligned your workforce is, and even better, when you put in those embedded surveys in those communication pieces, you see how is the average survey result over the span of this campaign, to really get a glimpse of how aligned your workforce is with this respective campaign, in this case, future and innovations. All right. So finishing it up, thank you so much for participating in the demo. So as I said, this is an example environment. We can fully customize the branding. We are able to fully customize the branding in the App Store and put you as the publisher in the App Store to make this relevant as for your employees to have an app that's coming from you and not from an external company or from Staffbase. So thank you so much for viewing, and I think I give it back to Emilia now for Q&A. Yes.
If anyone has any questions while we still have Robin, throw them in the chat. I didn't see any leading up till now, but like I said, this is the fastest demo I've ever seen, and it's a 6-month onboarding process, so we didn't expect you to get it all, but you've got a good taste of what is out there. Could we get access to this test environment? Love this. Oh, Frank, okay. I guess expand on that. I know who's asking. Like the layout of this environment specifically in your intranet as you're building it right now. Do you want to get in the sample one? What is that question?
So maybe I take that. So we will probably not give you access to this exact environment, but we can give you access to an environment that's basically, looking similar. What you have seen is our new design approach. So we just released a new design approach. We call it Wow Design. It is for intranet, and it's also for the mobile version. And we are happy to give you access to that, so you can play around with that.
Sure. Robin, Frank actually just signed with Staffbase, and they are in the middle of their onboarding experience right now. So this homepage looks great. Yes, Robin did a great job building it out. And we've got this recorded. So Frank, if that's kind of the look and feel you're going for, I will let the team know, because I know exactly who you're working with, that this is what you're referencing when you say you want it to look like this one. So very exciting. And we have some poll results. I don't see them. We're trying to share them. Can someone let me know in the chat if you were able to see them, or if I just can't see them? Yes, thumbs up. Or is that in terms of the homepage? Can't tell if we're sharing the poll results because I actually can't see what you guys are looking at, but I can't see them. Can we remove the requirement of the Microsoft Authenticator for the app? Yes. Right? Because some people don't always have Microsoft.
Yes. So the multi-factor authentication. So the reason why I cannot tell you this 100% is because you probably have an internal process in the company when you have a single sign-on with your Microsoft identity provider, with your Microsoft accounts, that requires authentication via authenticators. That's something we cannot do anything about from the Staffbase side. And we basically just connect to your Microsoft account. So when it's an internal company policy, we cannot change it that you have to use the authenticator. When you're using Staffbase to sign in and use Staffbase with our key pass and multi-factor authentication method, then yes, we can just turn it off. Or your customer success manager is happy to help you there. But again, please make sure that it's not an internal regulation from your IT department that forces multi-factor authentication.
Great question. And Corey would also like access to the new design approach. So, Corey, we've never met. Something to let your team know to communicate with us, or I can do a bit of research on who that right person would be. But thank you. Yes, Robin, it looks amazing. As far as the polls go, thank you, Janine, for letting me know that you can see them. Anyone else looking for the results? If you click polls next to chat, now at the bottom, show results, or perhaps yours already shows all the results, but you are able to see the results from our polls. But thank you so much, everyone, for participating in the polls, participating in the chats, sticking around. This was a long webinar, and it covered a lot of great content with a lot of great speakers. Lastly, if you want to get caught up on any more Staffbase events, we have a few events coming up. We still have open seats available in the following cities: Detroit. The screen is so small when I see what you're sharing. Detroit, Chicago, and Minneapolis. Those will be in the fall. Always plenty of online content, webinars, but these three, come see us in person. And if you want to know anything more about Staffbase, the Intranet, take a look at what all we do in a bit deeper of a dive. Connect with anyone you've met today. We are happy to talk with you. And thank you to all the speakers. Everyone here will be getting the recordings tomorrow. Thank you all so much, everybody.